Welcome to the Art to Heart podcast. My name is David Morin. I'm a former corporate sales guy turned poet. And this is where we explore how finding your voice can help your path and your purpose find you. Whether you're currently in a career transition or can't wait to be in one, we learn how leaning into creative expression can be the missing key to transforming your life and the life around you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Our guest today is Holly Pelletiere from Massachusetts. She's a storyteller, she's a painter, she's a poet, she's an educator, she's a mother, she's a graphic designer. She actually created the logo and artwork for this podcast. I met Holly during COVID when it was lockdowns and there's a bunch of virtual open mics. That was my introduction to poetry. I did my first open mic ever on a virtual during COVID. So Holly is one of those rare humans who is actually like a living ambassador of the earth. And I mean that in that like the way she lives is her art. And her art is her devotion to life. To life, and by life I mean like anything that's living, life in general, you know. And so she has a very beautiful spirit. She's very passionate, and I can't wait for you guys to get to know her. In this episode, we talk about Holly's intuitive approach to visual art and how that differs from writing. We talk about our high sensitivity and empathic natures and how we lean on art to navigate that. We talk about the complexities of multicultural backgrounds, the impact of colonialism on the struggle to find a sense of identity. Holly talks about the passed down fragments of culture and how she finds comfort in diverse communities. Holly also shares a poem that beautifully explores the journey of finding and following her roots and identity through nature. It's a gorgeous poem. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and let's jump in. Actually, Holly was the first... You were the first person I really recognized from all the virtual open mics for DPL,
really?
for the Poetry Lounge. Yeah, because when I first started, I was like, damn, this chick's always going first. And so I thought, like, I was like, dang, she's always going. And so, and then every Tuesday when we'd sign up, me and you would always be one of the first ones there for a minute. But, so you were a really big introduction to poetry for me, for sure.
That's
And,
awesome.
Yeah, and Holly also designed the logo for this podcast, which I am so in love with. I hope you guys like it.
Yay!
I gave her a sliver of an idea, and she knocked it out of the park and over the moon, and then it came back, and it's magic. I love it. Don't be surprised if I get that as a tattoo in the near future.
That would be really awesome. That would be one of the biggest compliments, I think, to have my art on as part of your art. That would be really great. It is, I guess it is already, but
It already is.
You.
That's like the first impression I'm giving everyone about. It's like the first thing they see.
Oh, that's really cool.
Before even
I had
my
so
name.
much fun doing it. I had fun doing it a lot.
So Holly is on the East Coast. She's an educator, and is that where you were born and raised? I'll let you go ahead and take over your intro from here.
Born and raised. I am certainly like a Massachusetts girl through and through. I moved to Florida for 3 weeks, got attacked by fire ants, and was like, no, going home. So yeah, Massachusetts my whole life. But
that's right, because I remember on the lives you were always there, hella late for you. The calls would end like at midnight. So
but that's why I was always on first, because it would be like 12 when I would sign up. So I was mad early because everybody else was like, it was like a weird time for them. But for me, I could do it. So
how
it was later or early.
On that
later.
Sorry. On that note, that I just thought it was very impressive how all of the different hosts managed to keep such like a real community vibe over a virtual environment. What are some of your takeaways from that? Do you still go regularly? Because for a while you were like every week.
Yeah, I mean, now DPL is back in person, so
Mm.
but it's a little late, so it's even like later when they start. So I'm asleep sometimes, most of the time before they even play the lives. The funny thing is, if I was doing poetry, my adrenaline would be pumping so hard that like I couldn't go to sleep after, so I would just stay up till the end. But not doing poetry, like I don't have that high, that
Oh,
like adrenaline
interesting.
high, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in bed.
So
um,
how does that high compare to the high that you get from visual graphics? Because I know that's what you said you've been on lately.
I don't get a high from my art, visual art. That's my place for like calm. So I have ADHD, and which probably like is also like why I do a million different, disciplines of art. I've kind of gone with storyteller as like a term to call myself because I feel it's more encompassing of everything that I do. But my visual art is like the place I go to just not have my brain be really loud and just kind of work through things. It's a whole different world. It's where I go to calm. But when I do poetry, it's like it's performative, right? So like I get like super jacked, super jacked up. I could like run a marathon after.
No, I feel you. Um, no, I feel that for sure. Like you're just shaking for a while after. It's definitely an interesting experience.
Es-
Um,
Especially when like it's maybe a piece that it's always the pieces that I feel like I don't even realize how like vulnerable I'm feeling about them, or I'm like questioning if I never want to come off as not being authentic because that would really bother me. So it's like always those pieces, and I have so much anticipation ahead like beforehand.
yeah.
And then I do them, and those pieces tend to be the pieces that I get the most feedback from, the most reaction for. And I just think that that's really interesting. Like, I feel that's very interesting how that coincides.
Um, well, you had must have got a lot from it because you had started hosting your own open mics for a while.
For a while, yeah. For a while, I think because we were still in just like this closed,
True.
not out there in the world
That was like
space.
the thick of COVID.
It was like the thick of it. And so me and Ali Blanco, who was another like virtual performer
See your faces
connection through
everywhere.
DPL. Yeah. We were just like these kindred spirits, and we've been talking all summer, like little things back and forth. Like we're both kind of in our own stuff, and like we did a thing. We made a joke. We're like, oh, what if we did this thing? And then we did this thing and like started our own community, which was great. And then our lives just both got really uh busy in the sense that like we were like doing our like taking care of in-house stuff, and
Well, you both have
um
children, you both have families.
yeah, we both have, she's got two kids, I have my son, and we're working moms, she's an educator also. So, it's finding that space, and now I want to be in a real like I want to be in real space and not just virtual. I
For
think I
sure.
kind of got fatigued a little bit too. There's there's almost an overabundance. There almost became like an overabundance of spaces where things started becoming like a little inauthentic to me.
Mm.
Um, I am not somebody who writes every day. I don't write every day. Writing for me is like a spiritual thing. It happens when I'm like receiving like a message that I'm supposed to be receiving. So I don't believe in forcing that in that way. I have like creative writing that's separate, that's different, but like poetry is for me, like those are not my words. That they're from
Mm.
their messages I'm receiving and I'm writing them down.
I would argue that they are your words, but not your message. It's like the poem's trusting you to use your words and to formulate their message the way you can.
Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about it a lot because usually when I I like write like a piece, like this is a piece that I've written. It's not like it's not me. It's it's might be my voice, but it's
True.
not it's an answer to something that I've been seeking, or is the question that I'm asking. It's kind of hard to.
No, that's much more accurate. It's definitely
Yeah.
it's your voice, not your message.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you begin to have that relationship? With so you said that's specific to poetry, not all art, correct?
I mean, it can happen visually. Like there are certainly things that uh I never really know what I'm going to make when I'm going to make it. Like when I paint, I don't always know what I'm painting. Sometimes I have an idea and I'll do it, like when I'm doing illustration. Um, but I've mostly been like an intuitive painter, writer my whole life.
What is so? How soon after you put the brush to the canvas that I mean, how long can you paint before knowing what it is? That's just really mesmerizing to me.
It depends. It just depends. Like some things are just pretty straightforward, like illustration, where I've had an idea and I'm just working out the concept. And those don't have as much emotion. But then there are I kind of do two things. I work in two ways when I paint. So if I have like an idea and a concept, I'll like sketch it out first, um, like most recently, like this one, like my hot air balloon that I did. I did a hot air balloon. I knew I wanted to do a hot air balloon. It was inspired by another person in my community member who's this badass chick she's a hot air balloon pilot. So she's really cool. She's young. She's now getting her like plane pilot's license. She's just this cool chick. And she posted this awesome picture, like this view of her balloon, which was rainbow. And I was like, I want to paint that, but I got to put my twist on it. So I sat down, I sketched it out. I knew what I was doing. And then there are other times where I do the opposite, where like, I don't even know, like I just need to create. So I'll do the opposite where I'll just I'll play with paint on the paper, watercolors. I usually do watercolors these days. And then kind of like let it dry and go back and see what I call them my ink blot paintings. So I go back and I kind of like get the vibe and then I'll draw something and paint over it. But yeah.
How does that experience compare to when you're trying to process something? Do you ever use visual art? Do you ever use drawing for that or painting? Or do you kind of save that for poetry?
I mean, I kind of use it all. It just depends on what muscle needs to be exercised, I think, at that time. Um, when I'm painting, um, I like to use this phrase as I'm painting my escape. Like a lot of my work is very fantasy, whimsical, otherworldly, and you know, dare I say, beautiful. So I'm sort of creating this other world, world building, world creating, and it's it's like a moment and place that I can just be in there.
That's beautiful. I've heard a lot of writers talk about world building.
It's all that's why I like to use the term storytelling because
Yeah.
it is all world building for me, just different
When
aspects of it.
yeah. When did you know you first had a talent or was it just always natural as a kid? And not
I
only when it was a talent, but when did you get that fulfillment out of it to keep doing it?
I always, my whole life, have used story in various forms, whether that, be drawing or spoken word. I had a lot of time to myself. My older sibling was she's 6 years older than me, and my
Mm,
younger sibling is 11 years younger than me. So I was kind of just like,
middle
I was
child.
always, yeah. And other children kind of annoyed me. Just like as an adult, other adults.
Were you always more mature in general?
Yeah, yeah. I think so. And I was always very sensitive to everybody around me. Like, I still am. I just pick up people's moods and their stuff. And I was certainly like, I've always been a very sociable person. I wouldn't call myself like, introvert or anything by any means, but I enjoy my solitude. And it started off really young, and that I would be in my room and just creating story. I mean, as kids do, but
Yeah.
um, it was a little different. I always knew it was a little bit more than just. It was like I needed it. I needed
Yeah.
it.
I was the opposite growing up. I needed to be around people. I didn't like being alone. Um, but, oh, damn it. I just lost the question I was going to ask you. Oh, I wanted to mention about the highly sensitive. So being sensitive to other people. I know that's either a lot of people call it empath or highly sensitive. I recently learned of the term. When did you realize that you began to absorb the energies around you? And
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, super early. My There's always like quite a turmoil about when I was younger. And you could walk into a room, and even if I hadn't been present for that, I could always like feel the like negativity that was in the air. And just being around other people, I just always was able to feel like what they weren't saying with their perceived,
Mm.
like how they were trying to be perceived, like, I could
That's
always kind of feel it behind.
I love how you closed it off by saying you could hear what they're not saying because I couldn't relate to anything you said until you said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I never really, I don't think I consciously felt like I was bringing anything on. I did always know that I could always intuitively kind of read between the lines of what people were saying. Like,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
listen to what they're not saying more than anything. And
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very I'm selective about the people that I allow to take my energy, and also the people I will allow myself, because I even if I don't want it, I get their energy. And as an adult, it's really this freeing thing that you can make those choices a bit more easily than you could
mhm.
as a child.
What are some things you did to learn to protect your energy growing up?
I mean, really, like diving into story, it's a coping mechanism as much as anything else. Story has always been the way I cope with the world around me.
Um, are you able to tell if your son has any of that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you, yeah, I cloned myself somehow. I think. I don't know how I did that. The only thing that's different is he's, um, I call him olive light, because he's like lighter olive skin than I am. So
Olive light.
I call him light olive. Like it's like a light olive oil. And he's got blonde hair, which is like that's the difference between me and him. He is he is just this most amazing, sensitive soul who like genuinely cares about people around him and can pick up on the people around him. And
How
I
old is
have
he?
to watch. He's 4.5, 4.5. So he'll be 5 in a few months. Um, so like I even have to catch myself a lot and what I bring around him because he picks it up. He picks up everything. Um, so if I do like unintentionally, like if he has that brought around him, I try to always be honest with him
Mm-hmm.
so that he doesn't. Nobody was honest with me when I was growing up, right? Like adults weren't honest with kids when we were when we were younger. And now we know that that's so important because you say so much when you don't, even when you don't say anything.
Damn, that's so true. Um, my mom, I think I did you get that from your parents? You notice that the sensitivity?
Um, it's interesting because my dad very recently, so my dad is, he's just like this, he's not like a stoic guy, or he's actually a really fun loving guy and loves to joke around, but he's from like a different age and a you know culture like I'm Portuguese on his side. I'm French Canadian on both sides. So he's from a French Canadian Portuguese background. And just my grandmother, who's the Portuguese grandmother, was a very, she was a very Portuguese grandmother. Like most, like you know, my family was already pretty Americanized by the time I came around, but you know, like her, like we're still like from an immigrant community, and you know, like they have very strong, we'll say very strong opinions about things and what you should do and how you should act and what you should wear and how you present yourself to the world and what job's a good job and what job's a bad, you know, like anybody, I feel like no matter what your ethnicity is, if you have that that influence, that immigrant influence, it
Well, a
could
lot of
be
that is
like a lot.
Catholicism as
It
well.
is
A
Catholicism
lot
as
of that is
well, for sure.
Catholicism.
And he grew up going to like Catholic school and um but so you know, this like just to paint a picture of who my dad is, he like very recently said he made that statement to me that he felt like he was empathic.
Mm.
And it was interesting to hear him use that language. I loved that he used that language. And I also thought that it was interesting because as I get older, I realize more and more how like my dad I am and
Mm.
how I like go about the world.
Wow. Um, my I think my mom is putting it together that she's the empathic one, and I really got that from her. And
You know,
so,
and it's stereotypical. I feel like a lot of people just think it's like women, and it's not.
mm,
It's men. But I think sometimes as women, we're given permission more to feel that and own that. And you know, if you say it as a man, like you might get a different response.
probably, I'm sure there's a bunch of guys who have
Machismo.
lost respect for me being open about it for sure.
Well, then they
Um,
weren't worth the respect.
what I think is really cool about you though is that your son is seeing you cope with it in a very healthy and beautiful way. And
Hopefully, most of the time. Not all the
but
time.
like for me, I never understood any of it because I don't think my mom understood any of it herself. You know, like
Sure.
now that I see her interacting with like my nephews and my nieces, I can see her teaching them empathy, and so I just don't think she ever grasped the empathic part or sensitivity part. Like you are bringing on all like the trauma and pain that you're talking to people about. Like the more you ask for it, and you can be there for a friend, but you have to understand the impact that it has on someone like you. And I think that's the big difference.
For sure. I've had people who, I'm always going to be the first person to be like, come talk to me. Like, if you need to talk to me, come talk to me. Then there are people, there's the opposite of empaths. There are energy vampires that just are sucking your life force away from you. And it's not intentional. They probably don't even realize they're doing it, but
And most
they
of them
are.
literally can't take a hint. Like they
They
can't. You
can't
have
take
to
a
exert
hint.
yourself
And
out of it.
I've gotten to points with people where I'm like, I really like, now my empathy has gone to sympathize, which is the, more superficial one. Like, sympathize with you, tried to be there with you. I'm feeling all your bad juju, and that's it. There's no reciprocation. You're always in this state. You're never ever able to get yourself out of it until you make the choice, a lot of times how to change how you feel. There's a difference between somebody who is like, oh, they're just having a bad day and they need an ear, to somebody who's just like victim mentality and is just always needing attention, but never reciprocating it, never giving it back.
Yeah.
I don't like to use the term toxic because I feel like that's just got overworked and overused and become toxic in and of itself, to say toxic. So I don't like to use that term, but there are people, like, if they're taking away from you have to protect yourself. You gotta.
And it takes a long
Yeah.
time to come to that, not only that realization, but the just the ability to put that barrier and put that wall and be
I
like,
can do it
I'm
pretty
not going to take
easy.
this in. You can't. It took me a very long
Yeah.
time to not.
No, I am not. I've never been a person who's had a hard time telling someone no, or just being like, I was talking to my partner the other night, and as a newer person in my life that I was interacting with, and I had made this statement. I was like, I tried to say it the most subtle way that I could, and he laughed because it probably wasn't that subtle, and they still weren't getting the hint because I'm not a subtle person and very direct. No, I don't know why that is. I think it might be the blunt Portuguese likeness.
Mm.
I think it just like very blunt. Like, we don't have time for it. Like, I don't have time for it. Like, sorry, I'm not gonna be mean, but there's just a point.
Are you incorporating a lot of Portuguese culture into your family and how you're raising your son?
I'm sort of just really on this cusp. I have so many.
Because that's not all you are.
No, I have
So
very many things.
yeah.
I am, but like, Portuguese is what I present to the world, like that. I feel like the most. And Portuguese, like, from day one, all I ever heard about was how I was born with a tan. Uh, you know, it became like I grew up with my mom and not like my dad. And so that was always like the exoticization of, certain cultures, and like more of a Anglicized community, because I'm actually Irish too.
You're
Which,
Irish.
yeah,
That was an
I
awful
don't
accent.
feel any of that connection, like, at all. But my mother's maiden last name is super Irish. Like, it's so Irish it
What is
sounds
it?
made up.
Now you have to say it.
Oh, it's McCrowan,
McCrowan. McCrowan.
which I'm sure you've never heard. It sounds made
No.
up. Like, it's totally so Irish it's fake. So
So what?
yeah, so that was an odd thing for me growing up. So I was just like always like, I won't say the bad word, but like, I was the Portuguese one.
So
Yeah.
there's one thing to defer to that, to like portray to the world, but like, what did you intuitively connect more with? Is that what you're saying was hard for you growing up? You didn't know what to connect with.
It's this interesting thing because I think so much of my poetry and so much of my work as I look back is like, what what is this complicated identity that I exist in? Like, what am I? What am I? What am I? Somebody tell me what I am.
What is going
But
on? What is
nobody can
going
tell me what
on?
I am, you know? There's a lot of complicated facets to it. Recently, like, found some pretty interesting evidence for uh, another connection that knew was there through my French Canadian side of my family, where family members who have passed away were the like last connection to an already complicated like identity, and which just like it's something I always knew about, but like has just thrown another monkey wrench into um this question of who I am and what I connect to, and how I'm raising my son, and what do I tell my son, and what's okay, what's not okay. And it really just comes down to, and this is like something that I've really um, um, come to like really understand a lot lately, is the reason why I feel that way is because our country is so fucked up and racist and has created so many policies and done so many, like, colonialism has just created so many policies and done so many things that it just like it makes people who put a dash about like before American, and what do you do when your dashes are like 5 dashes long? And I'm not talking like, oh, I took a DNA test and do you know what I am? Like, I'm not even talking about that,
Yeah.
Like, I had many influences in my life, cultural influences, and are you all of them? Are you want more of one than the other? It's the existential question, David.
I never, honestly, not literally not until this conversation did I felt more like grateful for knowing that, like, yeah, both my parents are like fully Mexican. Like, yeah, that's just where home is. I've never understood the weight of how blessed I am to know. And I know even within Mexico it can be varied, but for the most part, like, I know what to look to and where to reach to exactly,
Sure,
you know.
yeah. Like
And
I've got all these broken pieces of languages, and then culture that you like pieces, fragments were left over and handed to me, and how how do I hand them to my child like in one whole piece when I feel mixed up about it,
it's a good thing you're a
and
storyteller.
it's a good thing I'm a storyteller. Um, I kind of so this is like kind of like this is like a lifelong what my work is about thing, it's been, I think, a big focus for so long was I was outside the Portuguese community. So I constantly was like in these spaces that I was like not feeling very comfortable in all of a sudden because I was out of context. So the existential question for me is, what am I? Right? You hear like on paper, Portuguese people are European and therefore white, but my skin's not white. My hair is textured and curly. I was always made to feel bad about like what I looked like because here I am. My siblings are blonde with blue eyes and like fair skin, and like the ideal. Like I grew up with that ideal. I don't like to call them my half sisters, but because they're my sisters regardless. But
Mhm.
we had shared different parents. Um, and growing up for me in my community, Portuguese people were treated differently than like, the Anglicized ethnicities. Um, my own grandfather used to tell me like very racist jokes about Portuguese people. Um, so it's like what am I? I live on this like outskirt where I grew up, I would say like there was the best anecdote I could give was my partner and I were at this event, and this kind of funny thing happened where a friend I was friends with in high school, this girl I was friends with in high school, who I believe is Polish, so very fair skin, blonde hair, was roommates with a girl my husband went to high school with. Just like what an odd connection because we grew up very far away from each other. Who was Irish.
McCarran,
Fair, fair skin. Oh, McCrellan is the name. No,
McCrowan.
yeah. So so they're talking, and the girl I went to high school with was like, she goes, I was one of the few white people in my school. She goes, everybody was Portuguese or something else. And that's the best anecdote I can always turn to, because it's like, that's how we were viewed by people who were lighter skinned, you know? And it's just always been this thing where if I'm in a group of, in a room full of white people and I hear like the conversation, what's happening, does not compute, don't relate. But if you put me in a room with, people who from, like like people who are from different like Latinx backgrounds, or, like all the kids I grew up with, everybody I grew up with was Portuguese, Puerto Rican, Cape Verdean, Dominican, insert every other, ethnicity. I'm comfortable in that room. Like, that's the room I'm comfortable in. In the other room, I'm loud. The things that people are saying, I find very offensive. And I'm like, who said you could say that? Like, you can't say that, And so it's just roll that into all the other things of like this identity, because we love telling people what they are. Like, that's the name of the game. That's what we do, right?
Well, I think it's just our tribal, like our default tribal settings. Like, who do you belong to?
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything that we're seeing race. It's more of like, who's your tribe? That's really what it's about. And then somewhere we started making it about the skin color.
The problem is because they like a big number, white gets used for a whole lot of people. There's stuff that comes with that, right? Like light skin privilege, we know is a thing. And the problem is most people still can't admit that.
Even within cultures, there's light-skinned Mexicans that are above dark-skinned Mexicans. They believe they're above them in their classes.
Yep, 100%. It's a complicated thing, and it's something that just like is pervasive with my work. But also really recently, I was having a discussion with a friend one night, and we were having this discussion about and the similarities between our ethnicities, and she's Asian and I'm not, and yet the things that our aunties say are the same. The things that our, grandmothers are going to say about their opinions about how we live the life were the same, same thing. Like, it's interesting. And I've come to realize, especially through that conversation too, it's like, I think that may be why I'm here. Like, I think that might be what my work is about. Not that it's going to make some grand statement on like the world's, stage or whatever. But I think now when we talk about representation and including people in the conversation and telling new stories and hearing from people, I think we're going to start chiseling away at that. Like, I call it the big white blob. That's what I call it, because it's too big and it makes people erase their culture. It makes people like, you have to be this thing, like you got to be white or you can't, you get to be white. Like, ooh, this is, ooh la la, come join us,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I don't know. Like, there's flavor in my food, you come eat eat my kale soup, you'll melt your face off because it's spicy. It's
Um,
spicy.
I had one of my bosses at a job once. He was like a white guy, and I remember he would always like eat food out of it. He would just eat like chicken out of like out of a Ziploc bag, like just really dry chicken
Ew.
and like
Ew.
like a blueberry. Like it was. He was very
There's
he was very
so much to that statement that's wrong.
he was very proud of the fact that like food isn't anything for me. Food is just fuel. I don't care about
That's
the
so
taste. I don't care.
sad.
And I was like, you only hear that from white people. For
Yeah,
the most
'cause
part, you
maybe
only
they've
hear that from
never
white
had
people.
good food. Like
Um,
I miss going to my grandmother's house and just being fed. I just miss being fed by her. Like that it was it's just and I say none of it is bad. Like Portuguese food is like almost all the same ingredients, but you kind of just put it together in different ways, you know? Um, yeah, I miss that so much. And like food for me is really important. And like that's so, to kind of go back to a question asked me a little while ago, food is the one thing that I really have to give to my
mm.
son, and he's not interested in eating any of it.
What do you make for him? You make Portuguese food?
Oh, like
Irish dishes?
kale soup. Kale soup's like a big one. Like it's about to be kale soup season, and like kale soup's like lifeblood.
What is
Like it
that?
is. It is. And especially there's different like everybody kind of has their own version, but New Bedford kale soup, which is really Azorian. I'm Azorian Portuguese, so those are the islands.
Azores, yeah.
Yeah, Azores.
Azores.
Um,
Azores.
Azores. Um, so it's kale, obviously. Ton of kale. I've had a ton of kale, and everything's gonna be chunky, like big
Chunky kale.
chunks of food. Kale, potatoes. I use cannellini beans. Sometimes I put red beans in there, depending on like what I got. Onions, of course, tons of onions, tons of garlic, paprika, so much paprika. Spice. I like spicy smoked paprika.
Yeah.
That's like number one. Like you're gonna take a bite of it and you're gonna cough because like the top layer with the oil and all that's really gonna like get you.
Outside of storytelling and like food is definitely the biggest carrier of culture.
Because it's also food. It's also story, right? There's so much in there. And it's supposed to be chouriço or linguiça, which are like Portuguese sausage. Chouriço is different than chorizo. I don't want to hear anybody say that they're the same thing. They're different. But because I'm a vegetarian, I can't, there's no such thing as veggie chouriço. So I use veggie chorizo.
What's the
But
difference between
clarify.
chouriço and chorizo? Chorizo.
Chouriço is actually, I have a really funny story about chorizo. Chorizo is like got like big, it's like chunkier like bits in the inside. It's like similar flavors, but it's a little different. Like you'd have to eat them side by side.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'd say it's been a long time, but it actually hasn't, because like sometimes I get drunk and eat chorizo because like I need it.
Do you get sick?
Oh yes, God yes, but I'm already drunk anyway, so like, finish the job. So I want to say we moved to a new area, and there's people about. I see people about, but overall, it's a Wonder Bread, white bread area for sure.
Yeah.
And we went to a diner. We're like trying out this diner. I'm all excited because breakfast food is like, forget about it. Like number one on me. Like give me a greasy spoon. I'm so there.
What's your number one breakfast dish?
My favorite breakfast dish?
Yeah, if you were to go to diner,
give me like 2 greasy eggs, home fries, and toast, and like I'm happy. Like
Nice.
for real.
Just traditional
like,
breakfast.
Just classic. Just over easy. Good. So we were at this diner, and I look on the menu, and I'm like, it said like chorizo, and I was like, oh my God, this is the whitest thing I've ever seen. It was Charisse. They had Charisse on the menu. Charisse is spelled, how do they spell it? They spelled it Chorice. Like
Cho rice.
Chorice.
Cho rice.
Yes. I was like, what? Like, it comes on the package. Like, when you get it, it's spelled on the package.
Maybe
Are
it's
you
just a
spelling
statement.
it? They're spelling it phonetically so people can, and even then, it's not phonetic. It's
Cho
like
rice.
Chorice. And then we went to a different diner, and they had linguiça on the menu. And the same thing, it was misspelt, but like more phonetically. And I was like, I'm just insulted now. Like, I am just insulted. It comes on the damn package.
I'm sure I've seen that a bunch for Mexican dishes too.
But like, learn how to say it. It's not hard. You can learn how to say it. It's not that difficult. I have a beetle on my screen. Hey, dude, what's up?
I wanted to hear your poem if you still wanted to share one, and because I want.
Sure.
Unless you didn't want chat after it, because I like want to be able to dig into it a little bit.
No, we can chat after it. We can chat after it. Let me pull it up. In fact, actually, because it is like what I'm about, like these days or always, maybe. I just need to bring it up. Hold on.
Hell yeah.
All right.
I miss hearing your poems.
Aw, thank you. It's been a while.
It's been a very long time. Truly.
All right. I've carried my roots around in a sack filled with loose soil, rocky and mixed with the ash of resolve that has been passed down to me from the ones driven by right of way, hunger, and dignity, who followed behind me on the footpaths that have led me here. But now, no longer will they have to be shoved into back seats of cars which carried years of poorly packed suitcases, or next to a yearbook picture of a girl I could never even begin to know anymore. It's time I give them a resting place, let them settle once more until when this mantle is another's to bear, till then these family photos will sit right here above the fireplace. Making home is like excavation. I play dress up, be archaeologist. It takes laying out all the remnants of skeletons left in closets to see which bones still fit, which are still key for self. Growing roots is asking the land to remember you, asking to be known as its daughter, caretaker to the ones who were here before, and great-grandmother for those who will come next. No land can truly belong to any one person, but the land will know you unless you refuse to know it, unless you refuse to acknowledge the rightful ancient keepers. The land may reject you if you do not cherish it. I do my best to sit and listen. I wait. Patience is my offering. I ask to be bestowed with the knowledge that hangs heavy in these trees, that floats lighter than air in the songs of the birds who rest in them. My prayers go up with the smoke, and I wait. Waiting to receive home. Receive home is now the welcome mat I place at my doorstep. Sure, there is a house here, but true home, a place for soul to reside, comes feather by feather, comes in the form of quartz crystal among the dusty gravel, shows up the day the wild onions grow after humbly asking for them. And while a house may take 15 to 30 years of payment to conform to a capitalist standard of ownership, all the land asks for me, for granting home, is gratitude, for holding me up on the days I fight gravity itself, to thank the water when I ask it to baptize my feet, or even just allow my eyes to look on it for nothing more than a split second of healing. That's it.
I don't want you to stop. Keep going. Oh my god.
That's what I got. That's what I got.
That was so good.
Oh, thank you. That's one. That's like a prayer. Like, that's a prayer. That's not even That's a prayer.
That's, oh man, that was so powerful. Home is where I put my welcome mat. You had to line something like that.
Oh, I always do
Oh
that. Somebody asks me, and then I'm like, "What did I just say?"
no, I know. And then earlier in
uh,
the poem, you also said something about the earth only asks me to be thankful or to be.
waiting to receive home is now the welcome mat I place upon my doorstep. Oh, what was the other one you're asking? It's
Um,
like at the end.
no, it was towards the beginning. I mean, it's fine.
All the land asks of me for granting home is gratitude for holding me up on the days I fight gravity itself. That one.
Yeah, fuck. Yes, that one.
It's true. We
Oh,
take the land for granted, man.
we take the land.
Don't even get me on that soapbox. We'll be here for
Oh,
another
we take
2
everything for
hours.
granted. You know what's you know what's funny is that um when the first Avatar movie came out, the James Cameron Blue
I
Navi.
never saw it.
You didn't?
I'm
That's
like
not
one of those
surprising.
few people.
That's not
Huh?
surprising me. That's not surprising from what I know about you.
Why?
I
Why?
could see. Well, I could see you not watching it as a protest.
David, shut up. You know me so well. I'm like, I don't even know what y'all are about because, like, it's stupid and I'm not going to watch it. Like, that's
Exactly.
totally my attitude. No, if somebody wants me to do something, even if I want to do it like a little bit, I'm like, no, I won't do it. You
That's
can't
so
get me.
funny. Well, the thing that always stuck out to me about that movie, and I'm sure with many others, is the relationship that the locals had to nature,
Yes.
to the
Yeah.
trees, and that was always the most beautiful aspect of that movie to me. But the more that I've dove into poetry and the spirituality and the religion that comes with that, is the more I'm seeing like, yo, that shit's real. That's
Mm-hmm.
100% real. We just don't connect it with our hair, but like, we are the earth.
We are the earth. And, I think there's just a piece of me. And like I said, I recently like got like the actual specific, like more specific information, and I'm kind of in a place where I'm protecting that, and I'm not like in a place to like really share or talk about it for like many reasons, but it explains the person that I am and my spiritual connectedness to
Mm.
the earth. um I remember going back. Water food, that's what I called it. It was my first protest when I was little, when
Yeah.
I kind of like was learning about where fish came from, and like industrial fishing problems at like the age of 5, because I've always been this person. um and I was like, I refused to eat. I said seafood, and I remember this so clearly because my older sister was like, well, what about fish that comes from fresh water? And I was like, fine, I refuse to eat water food. I won't eat it. Like, that's it.
Oh,
And
so
I
not
was
even
like 5.
fish.
No, so that makes
Why?
me a very bad Portuguese person. No bacalhau for me.
Not that. Well,
um
why not fish? Because I imagine fish would be like one of the most natural things to eat as like just a primal being. You know.
I don't know. Like I said, like at just 5 years old, I whatever, like I wanted to be a marine biologist, loved sharks, and like learned about like just like mass industrial fishing and like unsustainable fisheries even back then, and was like, I don't want to hurt the fish, I don't want to hurt the sharkies, like I'm not doing it, And that was like my
Mm.
first protest.
So you're like a nature
And
and an animal empath.
yeah, well, I just always felt like what we did for how we went about food was always so wrong. And so, I mean, again, like, I don't, these ideas just were in me. I was like born with them. Like, I don't know. So I was like 5 years old. And I remember my mom looking at me being like, you're a tree hugger. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't get that context.
Damn,
I
for
don't
your
go
mom
out
to
hugging
label you
trees
like that, damn.
very early on. And I was just always very sensitive. I mean, let me tell you, when I would say my prayers at night, like, like, now lay me down to sleep, like, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, God bless all the kitties and doggies in the world and all the peoples who don't have home, and keep all the animals safe. And I would pray for my like dead dog that my mom knew was dead, but told me it ran away. Like and this is like every night. I had like a list, and my mom was like, I just like this just was you, like so early. Like you just were about it. And it only got worse as the more and more I learned about stuff. I got like a Time magazine subscription when I was like 14 or 15. Don't even ask me how I managed that one. Like a free Time magazine subscription. When I started even learning more about like the industrial farming complex and the havoc that it wreaked on our planet. And I was already like feeling sad about the animals dying. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm a vegetarian. My mom was like, you be a vegetarian, but you cook for yourself.
Yeah.
So at 16, I became a vegetarian. And it's not because I don't like meat, because I like meat.
You love animals.
Like a lot. Yeah. But I love animals. And I think, if I don't have like the guts to take that animal's life, like how do I have a right to its body when I can go to the grocery store and get the food that I need? We've created the society where it's just like it's so unsustainable, and most of it goes in the trash. And I just like that's my little protest. That's my little protest to the world. Everything's got to be a little protest.
Well, couldn't someone say the same thing? I mean, you're not, as far as like the vegetables you buy. I mean, you're still going to the same
100%,
store to buy the same vegetables.
And as I started being able
those are industrial vegetables, like
they are. But as I started being able to make more conscious decisions about my food and have, I'd say, sadly, like the luxury of, I mean, we're not rich or wealthy by any means, but we're in a financial situation where I can make choices about where they come from, and I think that we're starting to see everybody make those choices more and more, and rejecting that, and I have my garden. This year, the drought kind of got it, but, it's something that's really important to me, and it's something I think about, and I include it in my art too. Like it's definitely part of it. It's definitely there. The land is very important to me. The connection with animals is very important to me.
Do you feel physical pain in your body when there's like a natural disaster, or if like there's a?
Oh God, I mean, I think I can.
Whenever nature is hurt, do you feel that in your body?
I mean, I think I remember like I was fairly young when like the first oil spill I saw like on TV, like on the news, and them showing the devastation to like wildlife and talking about the residual effects in the water, and like, God, like, how are we so careless with water? How are we so careless with water? And, now what are we talking about? Jackson, Mississippi? Like, we're all animals, and that shouldn't be an insult. People take that as an insult because they've placed themselves as being human as above, and we're not.
We are the apex of animals, for sure.
We're the apex, but we are animals, and it shouldn't be an insult to say that. Like, people get offended. They genuinely get offended if you say that.
Well,
and why is that so offensive? Well, yeah. And I grew up, this is the other thing. There's something like got to be in me, because I grew up in a Pentecostal Christian church. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
I grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, geez. Wow. We're really like pulling the spectrum here, David. Wow.
We're opposite. As far as Christianity goes, those are very
crazy.
Opposite sides.
Yeah.
Those are I grew up very judgmental of your church.
As did I.
I grew up very judgmental of every church, of everyone.
And but they do too.
Exactly. And I think that was the first big eye-opening moment for me.
Yes.
Understanding. I was like, hold on. we still believe this shit for a reason. Like, they're not believing their shit for nothing. Like, everyone is getting something out of believing what they believe. So if everyone's right, nobody's right.
Yeah. There's
Like,
there's like this thing that I think of all the time, and it's like, no matter what it is, and it can apply to so many things in life. Beware of exclusivity. If it's exclusive and it has all the answers, but it requires some sort of something on your part, some like denial of yourself on your part, some sort of, and I don't mean like just like everybody have a free for all. Like there are rules and there are morals, and those are things. But if it's like only we have the secret, only we got the key, only we know
that's
how to do this, it's wrong, and run the opposite direction and as fast as you can. And as you said, you picked me out. Oh, I've never watched Avatar. You're like, I know enough about you to know why. And like I've always been like that. So here I am in this exclusive club when I'm like little and I have nothing else to compare it to. But I'm sitting there going like alarm bells are going off in my head. And I think creative people who are storytellers, I think that we just have something else encoded in us that throughout history you see like people who have been like that's not right, like, and how would they know that if they have nothing else to compare
well,
it to, and that's the accepted norm around them,
I believe that's because our gift, our creativity comes from the earth. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so obviously we're
100%.
going to be slanted to side with that, and so that's why creatives and um, business owners are always on like the opposite sides, because they're fighting for very different things, and we're getting in the we're getting down a rabbit hole here, but
That's the meat of it. But this, like I said, this is the problem with getting me in a conversation, because I'll just like go off
no, I feel that.
on a tangent.
Um, damn.
What else, David? What do you want to know about me, my art, how I go about the world?
Something I've never been able to, and by never I say like the last year and a half, because that's how long. Anyways, I'm fascinated because you do both, because you are a writer and a painter, visual artist, a storyteller. Like, can you explain that difference is to me? Because I can't fathom what it's like to put something that I want to put to the pen in a painting. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So
Because,
if you
well,
get something to come to you, how do you know if it's a poem or a painting?
I don't really have like a forethought about it.
Wow,
Like
it's
it
that
just
intuitive.
happens to be like whatever I'm like doing. And sometimes it's both, right? Like, so actually here is something that we should call to attention. So my Instagram name at the Moon Storybook
I was gonna bring that up
is
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, is this storybook that I've been working on for a while, and I'm ready to be done with it because I already got like 10 other ones I want to start doing. But like focus, Holly, focus, finish one thing, don't start another thing. So I definitely have to say like ADHD plays a big role in how I go about things. I need constant stimulation. Like I
Mm-hmm.
need new stuff, and if it's kind of like a blessing, because like if I get into a place where like I'm not feeling the writing and I'm just like not inspired, then like I pick up my paintbrush and I paint for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it goes hand in hand, like I said, like story and visual. I also I do a lot of handcrafts, there's there's other things I'd like to write that aren't just like poems or um, essays, per se. Like there's other stuff that I'm working on that I don't even talk about because I gotta finish this shit before I say anything. So once you open your mouth, like people are gonna be like, "Well, how's that thing going, Holly?" So I've learned a long time ago not to do that, because sometimes like I'll start something just to try it out, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm good. Like I'll move on. But I like the constant stimulation. And there's like a million other art forms that I haven't even. Like if I had the money, I'd be like, ceramic studio, like I'll do that, but that's pricey. So there's definitely limitations to what I can do now. But
If you had to choose one for like the rest of your life, what would you choose?
that's why I just call myself a storyteller, David, because it's just everything.
Ah.
I couldn't because like I cannot pick up a brush for a few months and I'm not doing good. Like I'm not doing okay. I mean, I didn't write consistently for years. I wrote like every once in a while. I'd write down like a blup, 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 like fleeting thought or idea. I write a lot. Well, I'm always writing in my head. So there's
Yeah.
stuff that I've written. And it's just like, when eventually do I get it down on somewhere? And then there's stuff that, if I don't get it down right away, it's gone and I'm not going to remember it. But story is always happening in my brain. Like there's Holly here and then there's what's going on upstairs, and they are not always the same.
Do you have a favorite painting or a favorite poem?
No, because I have favorites in the moment
Mm.
because it's just always an evolution. Like it's just constantly evolving. But as I say that, I'm sitting in a studio with like a ton of artwork that has mostly never seen the light of day. So it's like I hoard it. I hoard all my artwork. My house has always been like an art gallery, my own
Yeah.
art gallery.
That's beautiful. I met a Moroccan poet today online, and
Oh, I just saw this when you're like posting your thing. Like, we gotta talk about that.
oh yeah, well, yeah, we could because he said he speaks Arabic, English, and French.
Yeah.
And there
I
was
worked with
another.
a lot of Moroccan people. I used to work at Whole Foods. I used to be a cake decorator.
Oh wow.
Another Holly life.
Yeah.
Another Holly life, I used to be a cake decorator, which is just another form of art for me. Like painting with frosting.
Yeah, that is painting. But I asked him if he had
they're
ever written a
great.
poem mixing the languages. And he's like, I've done it a few times, but he's like, to me, poetry is a language. And it'll come the same no matter what language you try to speak it in.
I will say though, like I said, like I worked with quite a few Moroccan people, and they're just very loving and very warm people. Big fans. I've always wanted to go to Morocco. So I'm very jelly. We'll say that. I have one guy, Nordine that I used to work with, and another guy, Bassam. They, would sometimes like, Bassam was an artist, so we'd have discussions all the time about art. And they would both say sometimes, they'd be like, there's a word in Arabic, but it doesn't exist to describe it in English.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the word is so colorful and beautiful. Like, they'd be like trying to describe something to me, and they'd have the hardest time. They would have the hardest time, like describing it.
Well, language reflects culture, and a lot of those beautiful community aspects of other cultures don't exist in English for a reason, because they're not prioritized by Western society.
Yes, because other languages describe feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and prioritize their artistic expression, prioritize their art, their spoken word, their everything, and we certainly don't do it. It's not a priority culturally.
Like I forgot what language it was, but I saw that there's a specific word for the chatter that happens at the dinner table post meal. So it's not the dinner conversation; it's the post meal conversation.
After. Oh, I love
but
that.
That's still at the dinner table, and I'm like, fuck. Of course, like Americans wouldn't do that, because it's always like, can I be excused? Can I be excused? Can I be excused?
Yeah, but see, and again, like that's like. I didn't have that experience growing up. Like, I grew up with the Portuguese and the French Canadian, and the French Canadian is very, very much, vibrant, and a lot happening, and conversation, and adults having kids at parties way too late. You know, like I always remember being at my grandparents' house and it's like, it's really late. And I didn't know it then. I know it now that they were all drunk and, and having like a great time. But there was always a large, like being around a large table, having conversation, having games. Oh, games. We play games all the time, you know, after a meal. And not just for holidays, like Sunday dinner every week.
Yeah.
Sunday dinner wasn't boring. Sunday dinner was exciting. Sunday dinner, it's a madhouse, you know. I my husband is he's they call the term around here is like white lace Irish. It's like a very like I don't know how often they use it elsewhere, but it's like a very Boston term, or like Massachusetts fair, and it's like very conservative, very quiet. You know, the first time I went to a gathering at his family's house, and they're all very lovely, very nice people. The children were in their like Sunday best, and they stayed clean. And I was just like, "Whoa, what world?" And everybody was like very polite, and nobody cut each other off. And like, I always grew up with like people having conversations across the table, across other people, and like talking over other people, and you're like pulling the children down from the ceiling, and you have all the aunties going, and you know, like
Well, of
my
course.
grandfather, yeah, you know, it
We're
was like
so
very vibrant.
individualistic. It's me. It's like what
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
So I don't relate to that. Like
That's
I don't
crazy.
get that. I don't understand that. I only know that world. And I think that all of that always contributed to somebody was always telling a story. Somebody was always like saying something about the past,
It
saying
might have
something
been the
about
same
family
story everyone's heard,
history.
but they were telling a
Oh,
story.
but they were telling a story. And, you know, I wish I could go back there. I wish I could go back and hear all the things again that maybe I was annoyed when I was a kid because maybe I don't remember them now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the idea of a full dinner table is a good place to end it.
Yeah. It's now I'm gonna go write a poem because now there's like this thing happening. It's the feelings. I'm getting feelings stirring in me.
Okay, so I do have a final question to ask. I think I'll probably cater this more towards visual painting. Or no, you've been saying you're a storyteller, so let's say this is about storytelling.
Okay.
So, let's say when you wake up tomorrow, you are going to forget everything you know about storytelling, everything you've learned about it. Your memory's going to be wiped clean. But tonight, you can get a Post-it note and give yourself advice with the wisdom that you have today. And so this advice is to help get you to like where you are today, or you can direct yourself to go somewhere else with art. But what would be the advice you give yourself on that Post-it note?
I mean, I guess it's just sort of like just it's not just singularly it has to do with art because art is everything in my life and storytelling is everything in my life. My life is those and they're not mutually exclusive at the same time. Um, I think that, you know, one thing that I really well and truly live by is that, you know, my story is always evolving and story is everywhere. Everything is part of the story. So I think that's what I would remind myself because I think that would be all the information that I would need.
That's beautiful.
To go on.
Yeah. I had told someone once, they're like, they weren't a writer and they were asking me like, what do you look at for inspiration? I was like, literally everything.
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 Yeah,
if you don't see it, you're not looking hard enough. But everything.
I've had people ask me like, how do you write what you write? Everything that I write is real. It's just the perspective I take on it. You know, if I'm sitting there writing about listening to the trees and the knowledge that's in them and hearing it in the birds, it's because I was sitting under the trees listening to them sway in the wind and the birds chattering back and forth. Like I got that because I sat there and I saw it and I felt it and I experienced it. I didn't just make up some flowery language because if you make up flowery language, I feel like people can see through that. you can bust out some adjectives and some shit that sounds pretty. Like, that's easy. People do that all day. But there's a difference between being honest and telling true story, an authentic story.
I personally cannot connect when if I need a dictionary for more than a few words. That's fine. I mean, write like that all you want, but I can't connect to that.
No, because
It's like I'm trying to learn more
people,
than I'm trying to read.
people see through it. They're gonna see through it, and maybe they don't know that they see through it. Maybe they can read somebody's poem like, oh, that's really beautiful. Emily Dickinson. If you read a poem by Emily Dickinson, you could put together words about nature in some very not organic way and write something that you might think sounds like that. But then you can read Emily Dickinson, and you can read that it's not just flowery words; it's feelings and emotions that are there. You know, so it's good. Thank you so much for having me, David. This has been so nice. And I could do this a million times. I'm so bummed we're on this opposite coast and we can't sit down and do this whenever we want.
Right. One of the last things I wanted to mention on that. So, I mean, when we're recording this, I haven't released any episodes, and so I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to say in the intro. And I think our conversation ended on that note. And what I'm playing with is, this is the Art to Heart podcast where we talk about how poetry and other art can transform your life and the life around you.
Absolutely.
Like what you said, like everything's alive around us. And so,
everything is. Everything has story. You've got to listen to the story.
Yeah.
I mean, people can call me an animal nut all day. I don't care. That's fine. Like, I feel sad for you. I feel sad for you that you can't sit there and be like I was in the middle of a conversation and this little beetle has been walking around the perimeter of my computer screen, and all I want to do is be like, hey, dude, what's up? Like, how'd you get into my house? Like, what kind of beetle are you? Like, that dude has a story. Like, he's got a story. How'd you get into my house? There was a cricket in my bathroom. Crickets have become a thing for me lately. That's funny. Like a thing. There's a cricket in my bathroom. I went upstairs last night and I'm like, dude, you're in the house. You're calling from within the house.
Yeah.
And I tried to put him out the window upstairs, out my bedroom window, my son's bedroom window. And he didn't want to leave me. I was like, bro, go be outside. You don't want to live in my house. There ain't nothing for you here.
Go outside.
And I was like, are you trying to tell me something? Like, you sending me a message here?
That's so funny.
But then I was like, oh, that's a story. That's a story. He's singing. He came in, he blessed my house with a song. He meant to be awesome. There. I don't know why, but
I had a coworker at one of my last jobs. She had sent in a group text once. She's like, it's annoying. I can't let my dogs out because there's a snake around. And it's an endangered snake, so animal control can't come handle it. Very annoyed. And I was like, oh. I was like I lived in the same community as her, in the area, and I was like, we're straight up in nature. We are in the mountains. And so I responded, I was like, you know what? I'm really glad animals don't have human control to call. Because we'd be fucked up everywhere.
We'd be so
and you know what? Maybe
fucked.
COVID was nature's human control call. Get these
out
of here.
You know what? So there's there's story that I a larger format story that I want to tell. In kind of a funny hokey way, but that has serious matter, and it is literally about the forces that be in nature that are all right, we got these fuckers under control before they really do damage. We've been trying to be over here on the sidelines being okay, do your thing, we'll fix it, we'll do our best, but now you fuckers have gone too far. It's true, it's legit, and COVID is that's what happened. They were bitches, stop. You gotta chill with your shit.
Nature's poets, get your boys. Poets, handle your boy.
Yeah.
Artists, handle your
Can you come get your friend here? Because they messing it up for everybody. Party's gonna be shut down. Come get your boy. Come get your boy, because he's acting a fool over here.
So we've summarized poetry and art. It's nature saying, "Come get your boy."
Yeah, come get your boy, dude. Chill out. Like, calm down. Stop being so angry. I'm angry about people being angry.
Yeah, let's not end on angry note.
No.
Now, Holly, thank you so much. I'll include your handles and stuff in the show notes. Thank you for coming on. This has been great, and
Thank you, sir.
been talking about this long enough, but I'm glad we're finally getting this going.
You know what? It happened when it was meant to happen. I had the most beautiful day today. I was in like a really great headspace for this, so
Hell yeah!
we just ended it like amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, everyone.
Thank you,
for this logo. Thank you.
Edit out all the angry stuff.
We'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking with us if you're still listening. All right, Holly. Have a good night. This was awesome.
Much love.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art to Heart podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating or review. Send me a DM, hit me up on Instagram at art2heart.podcast on Instagram. If you'd like to stay in touch or reach out with Holly, you can find her on Instagram at The Moon Story Book. On Instagram, that's The Moon Story Book on Instagram. And it's also going to be in the show notes. Thank you all so much, and have a good day.